Good evening. This is the Cortez City Council regular meeting. Today is Tuesday, January 14th, 2025, and the time is 7:30 p.m. I'd like to call this meeting to order and ask you all to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. Cheryl, can we have the roll call?
Kefauver.
Here.
DeHaven.
Here.
Sproul.
Here.
Dobry.
Here.
Randall.
Here.
Lewis.
Here.
Medina.
Here. All right, we have a quorum tonight. And then do we have approval of the agenda as presented, the updated agenda?
Madam Mayor, I move that we approve the agenda for January 14th, 2025 as presented.
Second.
Motion made by Dobry and seconded by Lewis.
Lewis.
Aye.
Dobry.
Aye.
Kefauver.
Aye.
Randall.
Aye.
DeHaven.
Aye.
Sproul.
Yes.
Medina.
Aye. All right, we're moving on to number 2 on our agenda, the consent agenda. The listing under consent agenda is a group of items to be acted on with a single motion and vote. This agenda is designed to expedite the handling of limited routine matters by City Council. Either the public or a council member may request that an item may be removed from the consent agenda at the time prior to council's vote. I'll ask if a citizen or council member wishes to have any specific item removed from the consent agenda for discussion after reading the items. A, approval of the council work session / special meeting and agenda minutes for December 10th, 2024. B, approval of the expenditure list for January 14th, 2025. C, approval of a renewal fermented malt beverage and wine liquor license for Safeway Stores 46 Inc., DBA Safeway Store number 1892, located at 1580 East Main Street, Cortez. D, approval of a renewal hotel and restaurant liquor license for Stonefish Sushi Management, LLC, DBA Stonefish Sushi, located at 16 West Main Street, Cortez. And E, approval of a special event for the Cortez Area Chamber of Commerce to host a putt-putt event through Onward, a Legacy Foundation, on February 1st, 2025, from 3 to 8 p.m. on the premises of the Cortez Area Chamber of Commerce, located at 20 West Main Street, Cortez. Anything removed for discussion?
Madam Mayor, I move that council approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion made by Lewis and seconded by Dobry.
Sproul.
Yes.
Randall. Aye. Lewis.
Aye.
DeHaven.
Aye.
Kefauver.
Aye.
Dobry.
Aye.
Medina.
Aye. All right, we're going to move on to number 3 on our agenda, public participation. There's no limit to the number of speakers, although public comment will be held to an overall time limit of 30 minutes. Speakers have a time limit of 3 minutes per person, may only speak once, and may not cede time to another commenter. Do we have any commenters tonight? Okay. All right, we will move on to number 4 on our agenda, presentations. We have none tonight. So we'll move on to number 5, public hearings. 5A is resolution number 1, series 2025, presented by Contract City Planner Nancy Dalsdall.
Oh, thank you. The request here is for a conditional use permit to, I'm waiting for it to come up, to add 2 dwellings to basically the basement of a recently built single-family home. It's located at currently 1090 South Oak Street. What do you think I'm doing? It's not showing up. Still not showing up. Okay, we're going to have to act out where it's located, but you do have the staff report, and I don't know that we have neighbors here. So the property is located at 1090 South Oak Street. It will be required the address will be changing slightly to 1022. If we ever get this up, I can show you why. But because the property is zoned residential manufactured, there we go, manufactured home, multifamily dwellings are allowed in the MH zone, but they do require a conditional use permit. As you can see, this is a very large property for the city and for the zone. It's about approximately 12 acres. And there's only, at this point, one single-family home located on it, and the applicant is hoping to convert the basement to 2 additional dwelling units, so there'll be a total of 3. You can see here from the driveway, this has been the old driveway, which is the 1090 address. By moving it up to this location, the address will change a bit to, what's the matter? It's okay. Oh, okay. So as I was showing in the past, the driveway was located further south. The relocation of the driveway changes the address. This is the site plan shown. So existing home right here. The 2 additional units will go in the basement. We've got additional parking here, garage located here with more spaces there. So they're totally meeting all the parking requirements. It does show as asphalt on this. We have had discussions with the owner about perhaps using permeable pavers instead, which would meet our code and would also help with drainage, etc. Shows you the close-up with the parking areas here and here, garage, the 2 lower units, and then the upstairs is the single-family home existing now. Your criteria for approval on a conditional use permit really is talking about whether the use is compatible with adjacent existing uses and other uses in the zone district, whether they've incorporated features to help with the compatibility, and whether adequate services are available for the use. As you can see, with such a large parcel, the use is set well back from all property boundaries, so it's not close up to any of the neighbors. Most of this area is single family in nature. However, the MH zone does allow higher density, and given the setbacks from all properties, it seems like they have addressed the compatibility in that manner. Planning Commission reviewed this in December and recommended approval of the conditional use permit with the site plan. Staff is also recommending approval. We have just the one standard condition that they meet all requirements of all utility providers and city departments. Are there any questions?
Nancy, this isn't a minor subdivision, is it?
No, there's not subdividing, so it'll be one owner, and it'll remain in one owner. So there'll be rental units. The applicant will live in the upper floor in the single-family home. And he's here today if you have any questions.
does this change like the water tap fee or water like bill structure from single to multifamily?
Well, I don't usually get involved with how that works. That's sort of more at the building permit level, but I would believe, yes, they'd have to pay additional tax.
It does look like the first map says Shelby Harless Minor on it.
Oh, so it's currently, has been in the past part of a minor subdivision. Is that what you meant? Yeah. I think that was when they took these other units, these other lots here out of it, the larger parcel. Not sure why they did that. We've looked at that for when the lot develops, whether we could continue access through, and they made that impossible with this lot right in the middle there.
Is this property already built? Is it ready to go?
Well, it's not totally ready to go. They built a house. The driveway is roughed in, and he would be, the basement area is unfinished, so that he would, once this gets approved, he could finish that into 2 apartments downstairs.
Yeah, my little question, and I'm sorry if I'm don't know what I'm talking about, but is there any way that they can apply for that permit before they begin any construction? When they get it completed, it makes it harder for us. I'm not saying that I would agree or disagree. It makes it harder for us to say no when they've spent all of this money. Is there an avenue that they can come in and get a pre-approval before building anything?
Absolutely, yes.
I had a question, more or less a request for a clarification. You talked about the permeable pavers.
Yes.
And that was in line with the building code. Is that what I heard you
The
say?
land use code.
Land use code that is
say,
about
yeah,
to be- yeah.
permeable pavers as an option for paving.
And that was suggested. Is that what I understood you to say?
The applicant has requested that we look into it. We had a quick meeting with our contract engineer who said he felt like it was an acceptable alternative to asphalt or concrete.
Thank you.
Any questions for the applicant or? Okay. Yeah. Then let's open this for public comment. Do we have anyone in the audience who'd like to make comment on this? Seeing none, we'll close the public.
Madam Chair, the applicant is here. You might see if they
Okay.
have.
Would like to invite the applicant up if you'd like to add anything to the narrative or? Okay.
So I move that the council approve Resolution Number 1, Series 2025, a resolution approving an application for a conditional use permit and site plan for a triplex, 2 apartments added to the basement of the recently constructed home located on a 12.82-acre property located 1090 South Oak Street, Cortez, Colorado. The property, zoned residential manufactured home, MH, with 1 condition as stated in the resolution.
Second.
Motion made by Randall and seconded by Dobry.
Randall.
Aye.
Dobry.
Aye.
DeHaven.
Aye.
Lewis.
Aye.
Spruill.
Yes.
Kefauver.
Aye.
Medina.
Aye. Thank you, Nancy. All right, we're going to move on to 5B on our agenda, Resolution Number 2, Series 2025. I heard we have a letter saying the applicant would like to request a continuance.
Yes, that's correct. That's correct, Mayor and Council. They have requested that we continue it until February 25th. We do not need a vote for that from Council, but I think, just with the chair's call that we move on this agenda, and then we will put it back on the agenda for February 25th.
Okay. That's fine.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're going to move on to 6 on our agenda, unfinished business. We have none. So 7 is new business. 7A is an intergovernmental agreement for dispatch services, presented by Andy Brock, our interim chief of police.
Good evening. The city attorney and the county attorney participated in drafting an IGA that has been circulated to 11 participating governmental entities. The discussion is the city of Cortez utilizes the dispatch service center and has since its inception. The IGA improves police, fire, and emergency medical communications. To continue participating in the operation and operate in the dispatch center, the city is required to sign an IGA annually. So staff recommends that the council approve the intergovernmental agreement for dispatch services for the year 2025 and authorize the mayor to sign the agreement.
Are there any significant changes from last year when this came before us?
Just the date.
Okay, thank you.
Great.
Madam Mayor, I move council approve the intergovernmental agreement for dispatch services for the year 2025 and authorize the mayor to sign the agreement.
Second.
Motion made by Lewis and seconded by Kiefhoffer.
Dobry,
Aye.
Randall. Lewis,
Aye.
Sproul,
Yes.
Kiefhoffer,
Aye.
DeHaven,
Aye.
Medina.
Aye. Thanks, chief. All right, we're going to move on to 7B, Highway Users Tax Fund Report for 2024, presented by Brian Peggins, our Director of Public Works.
Madam Mayor, City Council, the Highway Users Tax Fund was started in 1953 and distributes 22 cents per gallon fuel tax, as well as faster vehicle registration fees to CDOT, counties, and municipalities for road maintenance. The Highway Users Tax Fund reporting helps CDOT keep up-to-date records on all publicly maintained roadways in Colorado. At the Highway Users Tax Fund reporting time, the GIS coordinator, Doug Roth, collects all street improvement project data from Public Works staff for the prior years and enters it into the GIS. This allows Public Works to create reports outlining maintenance history on all city-maintained road segments. Each year, the GIS coordinator puts together the city's Highway User Tax Fund report. This mileage certification ensures that local governments report roadway updates to CDOT for funding purposes. The formula for distribution for municipalities is based on mileage of roads in the city, as well as the number of vehicles registered in the city. I think it's 20% for the mileage and 80% for the registered vehicles. And then there's just a list of the previous funding. In calendar year 2024, Cortez received $332,611. In calendar year 2023, $268,289. In 2022, $295,326. In 21, $275,000. And in 2020, $251,000. Staff recommends that council authorize the mayor to sign the 2024 Highway Users Tax Fund report. Subject to any questions.
I have a question. What is the difference between the center line miles on our roads and the lane miles? Do you know that?
The center line is, 2-lane roads, and the lane, it's just about double. It just counts each lane twice. I'm not sure why. Maybe there's some one-lane roads. But.
Okay, thanks.
I move that council authorize the mayor to sign the 2024 Highway Users Tax Fund report.
Second.
Motion made by DeHaven and seconded by Lewis.
DeHaven,
Aye.
Dobry,
Aye.
Kiefhoffer,
Aye.
Randall,
Aye.
Lewis,
Aye.
Sproul,
Yes.
Medina.
Aye. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to move on to 8 on our agenda, draft resolutions and ordinances. We have none. So 9 is city attorney report.
No report, Madam Mayor.
Okay, we'll move on to 10, city manager report.
Yes, Mayor and Council, good evening. Just a couple of items. With the new year here, we have been busily working in the background, reviewing our city projects and working on our 2024 year-end reporting and annual reports are underway. Also, we're starting to prepare for our 2024 audit. Then also the new employee wage structure has been implemented and will be paid out starting this current pay period, which ends at the end of this week. Then also, just of note for council, the senior staff retreat this year is slated for March 20th, and then we will be scheduling the city council retreat. We're hoping about 30 days after that, which will be most likely the end of April. And then I just want to put a bug in your ear that to consider whether we want to do it like we did with the budget and hold it on a weekday or on a Saturday. So you don't need to answer now, but we'll be reaching out, but be thinking about that. With that, it's the first year. There's not an awful lot to report specifically, so that concludes my report this evening, pending questions.
Great. All right, we'll move on to 11, the city council committee reports. 11A is the mayor's report on the workshop. We had none tonight, so we'll move on to other board reports. We can start with Mayor Pro Tem DeHaven.
Historical Board met last week. There are some applicants for the open positions. We're looking forward to getting those filled, and that's about all that I have to share.
Great.
The next Mesa Verde Country Board meeting was rescheduled to the 27th.
First, Madam Mayor, I'd like to thank you for attending the Parks, Recreation, Forestry Advisory Board in my absence. And I do want to report really quickly that the nonprofit day for Leadership Montezuma, followed by the nonprofit fair, which was at the county annex, was really well attended. We had 44 nonprofits, about 200 people came looking to volunteer for those nonprofits. And I can give an example. The Good Samaritan Center, for example, has 6 new volunteers, 4 of whom have already started. So just within a 5-day period. So it was very successful. I also do have some notes from the meeting that you attended. So if you don't mind, I'll share those really quick. Thank you. And thank you to Creighton for providing those. So in old business, we have no update on the South Neighborhood Park. No update on the TRP project options. In the scope and sequence for the master plan, some of the things that were talked about, make bikeability and creating trails a priority. It's good to have stakeholders provide statistics. Completing detailed evaluation of the rec center needs to be a priority. Clarify discussion of funding priorities and ensure the website is used as a base of information, and social media and in-person outreach opportunities are used to increase participation and engagement. You all also discussed the 2025 meeting day and time, and it seems like people there were open to a change in that, potentially an early evening type of a meeting. There will be a tour of some of the project areas that are part of the recreation program scheduled for the 31st of this month. A big thing came up, and I don't want to talk a lot about it, not having been there. You might be able to talk more about it, but noxious weed responsibility transferred to Parks, Rec, and Forestry Advisory Board. And the committee thought that it might be good to have the council designate a PARFAB as the committee to be in charge of that and creating and adopting a plan-centered program. The committee wants to be sure that we implement IPM practices, the least toxic and invasive if possible. You also talked about pickleball as a subcommittee for the Parks and Recreation Forestry Advisory Board. And we talked about sponsorships, event sponsorships as a possibility in the future.
And I was well-intentioned in going to cover you, and I ended up with the flu last week, so I didn't even go, sorry. But I read the draft of the start of the master plan, and it's shaping up well, so. And then the Arts Committee has a board opening seat as well. And then I am traveling to Denver next week for the Mayor's Summit held by CML, and then also my CML January Executive Board meeting. So at the next, well, no, it'll be after our next council meeting. So in February, I'll give an update, a CML update. Okay. We'll move on to other items of business. Number 12 on our agenda, 12A, is council hybrid meeting discussion. So last time we met in December, we brought up the possibility of having a resolution that would allow us to have a hybrid meeting, and I think we talked about what we were comfortable with, and I think we just want to clarify for staff before they bring us a resolution.
Correct, Mayor and Council. And just for clarification, it would actually need to be an ordinance versus a resolution. So I just want to make sure that we understand properly before we bring that. That's rather difficult to change up. And once we kind of get that going down the process. But I feel like right now I'm just not sure that we have consensus on everything, and I was hoping we could rehash this just a little bit and that we could get some clarity so that we can come back with the best possible product.
Okay, I guess from what I remember the last discussion, and you guys can correct me if you think differently, is I think we agreed that no more than 2 council members could be hybrid at any time, and then a council member could not do a hybrid or a virtual meeting more than 4 times in a year. And then also for me specifically as the chair, if I'm gone, that someone else runs the meeting, whoever's in person.
And then those council members who are hybrid would be on a first come, first serve basis. I think that's everything.
I recall discussion on the absence of meeting this. So it was limited to either sickness with family, business trip, but it should not be used for like vacation.
Yeah, I mean, but that's, I don't know if we can control that. That's kind of at discretion.
Yeah, and that would be kind of hard to control, and we can't really be in a position to, make that call.
Yeah, but I think that's why we're going to limit it by the number of people and then also how many times you can do it.
I'd like to make a statement if I could. During the council meeting on December 2nd, a proposal was brought up requesting council members be allowed to Zoom into meetings if they had an emergency or life change that would render them unable to attend in person. When I voiced my disagreement with the proposal, I was called old and out of touch with new technology. I would hope the observation was in general and not pejorative. It was also mentioned that being on city council was a voluntary commitment. Although it seems voluntary, it is not. It is an elected position in which the council represents the community who have elected them. To be able to Zoom into meetings opposed to attending in person seems self-serving. Excuse me. Life happens, and sometimes we just can't make all council meetings we need to attend. However, if we allow council to miss meetings and Zoom in, yet still getting their token salary, why would we not allow our constituents to have the same benefit? Would we then have computer trolls calling in to disrupt the flow of our council meetings? I do not believe that elected officials should make rules that benefit them and not the people they represent.
Yeah, I just wanted to renew my opposition to that. I think that our meeting is in this room. We need to be accessible to the community in person, particularly when we're making serious decisions that affect their lives. And I think the remove of being on a screen does not provide that same relationship. I agree with Councilman Sproul. I think that us passing this I don't know if I want to say in opposition to our charter, but our charter does say that our meetings are here and that attendance is required. I feel like we're contorting the language to try and fit what the council would like to do to make things more convenient. That's my take on the thing. So I would be a no.
I've given it quite a bit of consideration since we had that first meeting, and I tend to agree with both Councilmember Spruill and Councilmember Dobry after reconsidering. And for those reasons, I would echo those. But the other point I would make that I'm not sure has been made yet or not is that we require our senior staff members to be here. And I feel it would be incongruent with what we're asking of them and what our community expects of us. So I have reconsidered, and that's probably where I stand now, just so that you know.
I really have not changed my position. I think one of the things that I would hope is that people wouldn't take advantage of this. So when it was brought up earlier by Bill about taking a day for sickness or for the birth of a child or a wedding or something along those lines, those things make sense to me. I would like to believe that people wouldn't take advantage of the fact that they could miss 4 meetings. I would hope that they would want to be here as much as possible. And so for that reason, and others, I think that it's totally, completely reasonable to have no more than 2 people gone, but also to not miss more than 4 meetings. I just think that things in life happen. I have elderly parents, and I almost had to go last week for an emergency, and I can tell you that will be coming in the next year of being here on council, and I would love to still be able to participate, even though I have to be tending to most likely my father for a period of time.
I have a question. Can an ordinance have an expiration date?
Yes, you can place a sunset on an ordinance or a rule that you would adopt by ordinance. That's certainly within your authority.
Okay, because, I can understand the concern for future councils and future elected officials potentially abusing it, but the whole reason this was brought up was because there's times in particular current elected officials' lives where we have no choice but to miss a meeting, but we still want to participate. This isn't about I just don't want to be here, but I want, this is about I can't be there, but I still want to participate. So what if we just make it for the next year? And then that way it's only for this elected body.
You could also make it annually renewable so that either it automatically renews unless the council votes to not renew it, or that it automatically terminates unless the council votes to renew it. So that, that way you don't have to have the debate over whether you want to do it or not. You just have a discussion about whether you want to renew it, and that's certainly one way to address your concern.
Okay.
I like Madam Mayor, I like your suggestion about having a limitation on that. I think that's a great idea, and we're not locked into something. I'm kind of torn between it. I know there are times, I've been to numerous meetings when I was in education, and the one dynamic you really miss is you can't really get a feel of the group and the dynamics that are going on. But I think if we're very controlled with this, and we only use it for the utmost urgency, then I would be in favor of it. And I do like that proposal of limiting it for 1 year.
My position hasn't changed on this. I think it's time that we modernize and join other cities that are doing this all over the country. I think with the limitations, we've addressed a lot of these issues, and I don't foresee it being a problem. If we're going to limit it for a year, I'm hesitant to have it be something we have to spend staff time on over and over and council time on over and over again. I would be in favor of something like Pat said, where if it's not something that we vote on, it just keeps on automatically renewing. But, yep.
Okay, my next question would be, and I think we talked about this last time, but in light of some of the discussion today, what about executive sessions? Would that be allowed virtually as well?
Once again, I don't think it makes sense that we would allow anyone to, we've had people call in on executive session, Zoom in on an executive session that are part of council and not part of council, so I don't see why it would change with the virtual attendance.
Any other comments regarding that? Okay, what about quasi-judicial items? Quasi-judicial items that may come before council in this meeting, in this forum here.
I think they should still be able to vote.
Okay. So if I understand it correctly, and I think we have perhaps not a full consensus, but perhaps if there a vote was to be taken, it would be right around the 4-3 decision on that. And if I understand that correctly, then we are being asked to bring forth a ordinance that allows for remote attendance, limiting it to a total of 4 per council member. Executive sessions are allowed, as well as quasi-judicial items. Advance notice, as we talked last time, that's one thing that staff requests is at least 24 hours notice so that we can set it up in here. Quasi-judicial would be okay as well. And then we would limit the number of members who can be remote to 2 for any given meeting on a first-come, first-served basis, where we are not put in a position to have to choose. It's just flat-out first-come, first-served. And I would recommend, council, that go through whoever you elect as a mayor. I think that decision should go through that person. And then the presiding officer, of course, must be present, and then that can be delegated by the mayor. Then also perhaps a sunset provision, but if I'm hearing right, that would be set for an auto renewal at a 1-year basis. Are we understanding that correctly, council?
I think so, yeah. And then just present it to us and we'll vote and see if it passes.
Okay.
Or
and
if there's any amendments.
Well, I will bring up the irony that the likelihood of if this comes in the next 2 to 3 meetings, then you're going to probably be down to a 3-3 because I won't be able to participate because I'm going to have a baby.
That's why we had wanted it to be, the ordinance already to be here tonight.
Well, even if the ordinance was here, this would be the first reading, and we would still have to hold it over in a public hearing next meeting, which would still put us perhaps in the same boat, perhaps. So, but understand, we need to make sure that we have the right information, and we're trying to do the best we can to do it right so that we touch this once.
Okay.
So.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, council.
All right, we'll move on to 13 on the agenda, public participation. There's no limit to the number of speakers and no overall time limit. Seeing no one in the audience, we'll move on to 14, adjournment. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Madam Mayor, I move we adjourn.
Second?
Motion made by Lewis and seconded by Kiefhoffer.
Spruill,
Yes.
Kiefhoffer,
Aye.
DeHaven,
Aye.
Dobry,
Aye.
Randall, Lewis,
Aye.
Medina.
Aye. All right, Happy New Year, everyone.